Hey everyone, thanks so much for joining us. My name is Emily Newman and I'm the founder of If I Made, and I'm here with Eric and Amy McVeigh. We've got an awesome class in store for you guys today. It's always such a treat to see where people are tuning in from: Hong Kong, San Francisco, Toronto, Australia, Ontario, New Jersey, Oregon. We want to give people a couple of minutes to log on and get situated. So I was actually just talking to Eric about his next kind of destination wedding that he's shooting. Eric, do you want to share a little bit about that?
Yeah, going to the Maldives soon here in a few weeks. And I'm excited because I've never been.
Yeah.
The planner sent me some pictures of the water below kind of the bungalows, and there's just like stingrays and sharks everywhere.
Don't get eaten by a shark while you're gone.
I don't know with any sharks.
Okay, good. Just want to make sure that was said out loud.
I'm not a shark guy. No. But it takes like 40 hours of flying to get there. So a little bit bad. And
you just got back from Thailand, right? Shooting a wedding there. Is that correct?
Yeah, I've been there a couple times in the last couple of months.
Okay, cool. So is that a longer flight than Maldives, or is that about the same?
Longer.
Okay, wow.
I think it's 4 flights to get there from little old Portland International Airport. International Airport.
Yeah.
So and I do it all alone now without Amy. So it's a little lonely.
I get jealous, like total FOMO about him going to these places, and then he says things like 40 hours of travel, and I'm like, oh, never mind. I'll stay with my daughter. That's fine.
But the sandy beaches are worth it after this long Oregon winter.
Definitely. Well, everyone, we've got an awesome class in store for y'all today. We're going to go ahead and get started. We always like to start off our classes with a few helpful tips to give you the best viewing experience possible. We are streaming live over the internet, which means depending on the speed of your internet connection is going to determine the quality of the picture that you see in front of you. So if you have a slower internet connection, the picture may be a little bit pixelated or delayed. Don't fret, we will be sending out a high quality version of the recording of this class later on. So if you have to hop off early to put the kids to bed or catch up on some work, everyone who signed up for the webinar will be receiving this replay link in their email. We've also saved time at the end for a live Q&A with Eric and Amy. So please be asking questions throughout the entire webinar. We have moderators in the background who are going to be keeping track of all your questions, and we're going to try to get to as many as we can at the very end. And then for whatever reason, if you get bumped off the webinar or if your computer restarts, you can actually get back onto the webinar with the link that was originally sent to you in this email. So if you guys, for those of you who aren't familiar with Eric and Amy McVeigh, they are an incredible husband and wife photography duo based out of Oregon. And Eric's work has been featured in publications all over the world. He mainly shoots destination weddings now. You kind of heard us earlier talking about some of the places that he gets to shoot at. And it's been just so neat to hear kind of your stories that you've been sending in to us over the last week over email and direct messages, comments on social. And I just am so excited that you've taken time out of your day to attend this class, because a lot of the stories that we're hearing are stories of frustration, struggle. You're at a crossroads. You've been in business for a few years. You're ready to possibly transition to film or attract a different client, but you're not quite sure how to make that transition, or you're brand new and you just want to take that first step into becoming a wedding photographer. And Eric and Amy have put together an incredible class just filled with their knowledge of over the last 11 years, because they were where you guys were. So many of those stories Eric and Amy can relate to. So just to give you a quick rundown of the class, Eric and Amy are going to share a little bit more about their journey, how they got started in photography, how they started booking all those incredible destination wedding clients, how they price for destination wedding work. And then we've got a webinar demo where Eric's actually going to be taking us behind the scenes while he shoots a couple live. And then we've got a live Q&A at the very end where Eric and Amy are going to answer some of your questions. So Eric and Amy, thank you again for joining us. And we're so excited that you're here.
Thank you.
We're excited. Yeah.
Well, guys, thank you guys so much again. Another hello. Thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedules and joining us tonight, probably different times a day throughout the world.
That's how it works. Yeah.
It is how it works. I'm just learning. We know you guys have really busy lives, and taking the time to be here with us, it really means a lot. I'm excited to dive in and talk about our journey growing our business and share with you kind of all that we've learned along the way.
Absolutely. So, but before we get started with today's class, I first just wanted to spend a couple minutes telling you about Eric's online photography course. It's called Wedding Photography with Eric McVeigh, and I'm so excited about this. It's actually on sale this week for $1,000 off its retail price. This course is something that Eric and I worked countless months on. We poured everything we have into it. If there is something we know or something we've learned, it's in the course. The course includes over 750 pages of PDF learning, including Eric's exact pricing strategy, his entire list of gear and tools, how he shoots a wedding and works with a client from start to finish to delivery, branding, marketing, pricing, it's all in there, everything. If you have a question, it's probably covered in this course. It also includes 16 printable worksheets so that you can directly apply what you learn in our course to your own business and craft. Plus, it also has hours of instructional footage in 3 videos that take you behind the scenes as Eric shoots a real couple, a bridal editorial, and a lifestyle fashion shoot. So along with those videos, you actually also get the corresponding complete full gallery for each of those shoots so that you can see exactly what Eric captured in each moment that you observe in the videos. And I think my favorite thing that you get when you invest in this course is access to our exclusive Facebook group, which we have for everyone who buys the course. And I love it. I mean, community is something that Eric and I are pretty passionate about. It's something that I don't think we even knew we needed until we had it in the industry. And it's something we love nurturing. So we are in that Facebook group at least once a week. There is no question ever left unanswered in there. So all of the members have a chance to pop in with questions if they run into a hurdle. Maybe it's a question about the course or just something that happened to them at a wedding last week. Eric and I will answer it. And also all the other members are a wealth of knowledge as well, and they can share their own experiences, support one another through the wins, and console one another when you're going through a tough time. And we all kind of just get to be in there together, growing and learning together, far past when you first read through the course.
Absolutely.
So a few tiny last minute things. So along with it being on sale, the course actually has a really cool option for a monthly payment plan. I know that even at $1,000 off, the course, I believe, far surpasses the value of even its full retail price, but still, even at 40% off, it's a big investment, and we understand that. But the monthly payment plan really breaks down that cost of entry so that it's accessible to everyone. I know that sometimes finances can be more fluid when you're in the creative industry. It's not the exact same paycheck month. But with this, it's just $149 a month. You can really build that into your budget. And when you do that payment plan, you still get immediate access to every single thing in the course. So if you purchase later on in the webinar, we've got a special little bonus thing that you will receive. If you buy today, you also get access to a special Lightroom editing video that Eric created. It shows you how he works through a complete wedding in post-process from start to finish, and it's pretty cool. So you get that if you buy the course today. So with that, done with the sales pitch, should we get started?
Sure, Amy. Sounds good. So today we want to cover some of the most common questions and obstacles that we hear from photographers lately. You want to incorporate film into your work, but you're hesitant and it seems difficult and expensive. Burnout is real and you're feeling it. And you're staring at a screen all day, editing your digital files and trying to promote your business on Instagram. None of us really love that. Also that you want to book jobs outside of your local market and definitely want to shoot destination weddings in far off places, but you don't know how to break into the destination world and have no clue how to price yourself for those jobs when you receive the inquiries. And finally, there are a million photographers out there and you want to stand out from the rest, but you don't know how to get noticed amongst all of the noise.
Yes, those are real and true pain points, and we get it. We hear you. We know you want to shoot more film, be fulfilled artistically, make more money, who doesn't, without wasting your life behind a screen. You want to book destination weddings, and you want to elevate your brand for success and profitability. And we hear you, and we get it, and we want to help because, like Emily said before, Eric and I have been there ourselves. We all start somewhere, and there are so many lessons learned along the way. Mm-hmm. And over the years, we've worked with hundreds of photographers through Eric's in-person workshops that we used to do and his one-on-one mentorships he used to offer. So we've worked with a ton of photographers over the years, and it really brings us to life when we get to work with someone and help them to achieve their creative and business goals. It's something that never gets old and is always exciting. And that's why we created this course and why we believe so much in it. And that's why we're here today. We want to do a little bit of that today with our time together. So the 3 things we're going to cover during this little webinar we have going on right now. We're going to talk about transitioning to film with confidence. We're going to talk about eliminating the mystery and fear surrounding the move to film, explore how film can make sense artistically and financially. And a quick note here, digital versus film. It doesn't matter what medium you shoot. There are talented photographers who use both or a combination of the two. Eric does shoot primarily medium format film when there's available light. He will shoot digital during low light settings, but film is his go-to. So yeah, so we will be talking about film today, but there's really something for everyone in today's discussion. We're going to be covering a lot of relevant stuff, even if you only shoot digital, about business and marketing. So please stick with us. And to that end, we're actually also going to talk about how to build your business the right way in order to stand out in a crowded marketplace for long-lasting sustainable growth. And finally, we're going to talk a little bit about breaking into new markets, including destination weddings, and why pricing strategy is a huge, huge piece of the puzzle when you're getting into those markets.
Big time.
Yeah. So with that, why don't you go ahead and I guess start with the beginning. How did you get into wedding
all the way to the beginning?
The very beginning.
Okay, I can do that. Well, I think I got my start in wedding photography probably the same way as a lot of you did. I was interested in becoming a photographer, but wasn't really sure what direction I wanted to go. And I was taking pictures of all sorts of things. And in 2009, was asked by a family friend to shoot their wedding. And from that wedding, I booked a few more. And as it always happens for many of us, it snowballed. 2011 was definitely a big year for me from there. I'd been working hard since I got my start in 2009. But a lot of the hustle felt like I was just kind of aimlessly spinning my wheels. And in 2011, my results and direction became a little bit more focused. And that's when I transitioned to film. And it was that year that I was booked for about 30 weddings and 50 senior portraits. And they were still in my local market, but there were opportunities for me to grow quickly and grow in my craft and in my technique, with so many chances getting out there and shooting all throughout the year. It was that same year that I really worked hard to kind of hone in on my marketing and pricing strategies so that I could cut back on how many jobs I was doing each year while still bringing in more revenue than ever before. These days, I shoot about 20 weddings annually, many of which are destination multi-day events, and I shoot them almost entirely on film. So to start things off today, I really want to talk about why I chose film in the first place and how shooting film can make sense artistically and financially. And we only have a limited amount of time today, so I'm really just scratching the surface here. There is so much more content on transitioning to film, technical insight about how to shoot in different lighting scenarios, and I could go on and on and on. Amy's heard it before.
I've heard it all.
I could go way too long.
Yeah.
But today we're going to keep it simple. So first, I'm going to kind of talk about why I chose film in the first place. So I was spending primary reason, I was spending way too much time in front of the computer editing and kind of burning the candle from both ends. And to me, that lifestyle just wasn't sustainable. Mm-hmm. I knew that if I kept up at that pace, that burnout was inevitable. Yeah. And I was going to burn out way too early. And I wanted this career for the long haul.
Yeah.
I'd also built a wall kind of from both exhaustion and artistic frustration. I felt like my work was missing something. Mm-hmm. And it was at that point that I really realized that all of the work that I admired had one thing in common, and that it was shot on film. And that's when I kind of went all in with film. I bought a Contax 645. I signed up for Jose Villa's workshop. And when I came home from the workshop, I shot everything I possibly could from that point forward on film. Didn't I?
You did. You certainly did. He was so all in, and I was so not all in.
No.
I know. I'm sorry. But so 2011, when Eric decided to transition fully to film, was also the year we got married and the year that I decided to quit my corporate job. I was working in-house for in the marketing department for a company. And I quit to leave to work full-time with Eric because his business was growing at an incredibly fast pace. We knew there was an opportunity for this career to be our family's livelihood. And with the efforts of both of us combined, we could do so. So it was a big risk, me quitting my corporate job. And we compounded that by Eric saying, I'm going all in with film. I'm shooting only film at all these sessions that have already paid at my lower price point that I was at. And I love planning ahead. I love a good plan. I love a good Excel spreadsheet, and looking over our projected revenue for the year based on how many jobs we had booked at what price point and what our profit margin was for each job, crunching the numbers again, adding film into the mix. I was like, why are we leaving all this money on the table?
Yeah.
We had a good thing going with digital. It's not really broke. I mean, I know you're like slaving away behind the computer for hours and hours and hours, but like, just keep doing that. Just come on. I was kind of,
sure.
I was nervous. I was really
say.
nervous, but Eric believed so fully in it and was so firm in his commitment to film. He really pushed back after I pushed back, and he went for it. And, you know, we made that decision together, but it was definitely him taking the lead on fully backing that decision to go to film.
Yeah, I really believed in it, and I kind of saw a bigger picture, and I knew that it was what I needed moving forward to grow in my art and business and continue to grow. Mm-hmm. And I know I could get better faster by kind of going all in with film instead of just dipping my toes in the pool and testing out the waters. I also knew that the monetary investment in film would be made up for just in time saved from editing, time which could be dedicated towards things that actually grow my business rather than just maintain my business.
Yeah.
I also believe that for me personally, film would kind of help me create the work that would allow me to demand a higher price point in the future and book higher paying clients in the future. And switching to film kind of did all of that for me and more. It injected new life and inspiration into my artistic process again. I was back to being excited about the work that I was creating and excited every time I went out on a wedding or shoot. And I also enjoyed kind of what I call an immediate reward rather than immediate defeat. So an immediate reward when I get beautiful film scans in my inbox rather than the immediate defeat of uploading thousands of digital files that I have to cull and then kind of put presets on and edit. So by transitioning to film, just in time saved from editing, I was able to cut my time per wedding down from, I think I was spending about 12 to 15 hours per wedding to about 4 to 6 hours per wedding. And I edited a wedding this morning, and it was 70 rolls of film, I think. And it took me about 6 hours total from start to finish to edit, to sort of put all that film in chronological order, edit it, and cull my digital files and edit those, and start to finish about 6 hours.
Okay, so needless to say, Eric proved me wrong. He definitely was right about the benefit to his transition to film. And I mean, seeing his career kind of grow from that year forward, he was meant to be a film photographer. I will say it now, I was wrong. But once we had found his way in film, our next focus, kind of like our next targeted, okay, what do we do? Was how do we grow this business that we've gone all in with? And how do we make it one that is profitable and sustainable so that it could be our family's livelihood for years to come? So over the years, through our experience in Eric's own career, as well as working with the many other photographers through our workshops, we've kind of developed an overarching theory for how to build a photography business the quote unquote right way. There's of course no one way to do things. There are a million different avenues to success, but this is one that we've consistently seen work for other photographers out there, especially in the wedding market. It's a 3-step plan, and it's one that I just can't speak to enough. I love it. And I think it really is something that you can apply regardless of what point you are in your career. So it's build, grow, and sustain. And no part of the plan is more important than the other. They're really all critical components to a thriving career that's fulfilling and profitable. So we're going to go ahead and start with build. Start at the beginning. And again, this doesn't have to mean that you're just picking up a camera for the first time. I think that the theories included in the build portion of the 3-step plan can be applicable even if you're just tweaking your career or moving in a different direction within the industry. There's lots of different techniques and theories in here that I think you can apply regardless of where you are in your career. But overarching, scaling back, looking at just the build section of the plan, we've worked with hundreds of photographers, like I've said, and over the years, probably the 10 who have really risen to the top and made a mark in this industry long-term. They have very diverse looks in terms of their final product and their style of photography, very diverse brands and personalities, but they all really have one thing in common, and it's that they mastered their local market first. I think it is so critically important that you start local. It gives you a chance to iron out the kinks, gives you lots of opportunity to practice. Like the year that Eric had 30 weddings just in our local market, that was his year to master his craft before he started reaching to expand outside that local market. You really just can't go anywhere without starting at the beginning, at least not long-term and sustainably, I don't think. Another thing when you're in the build phase is starting to really focus on utilizing social media. I mean, Instagram is basically a photographer's website these days. Yes, we need our online websites with our galleries and our blogs and our contact form, but especially when you're networking, you're trying to get seen by planners, even prospective clients, they'll look you up on Instagram long before they're going to Google and Googling your name these days. That's what people pull up. I've actually seen it happen in conversations with stylists. A photographer gets mentioned, boom, they're on Instagram looking, and 5 seconds later, they've judged you. So your Instagram feed is your business card. It is your online gallery. It is your everything. And it is free. I mean, yes, algorithms have changed. I know that's always something people can complain about. Visibility is harder to pull out of Instagram, but really that's just an excuse. You have to be able to evolve with the platform. And again, it's free. So it has to be a huge part of your business plan, especially when you're growing. There's just no excuse for not using it. And if you're just starting out, or maybe you're just switching to film, so all of your work is digital, or you're just starting out and you don't have a ton of content, create the content. Yeah. You're a photographer. You have the camera. That's your job, is to create content, and you can do that for yourself. You don't have to only post on your Instagram paid wedding jobs if you're trying to book more wedding jobs. In fact, I think Eric oftentimes is booked for work that he's created outside of the wedding industry. And then brides will be like, ooh, I like that cool black and white editorial you shot for no reason. I saw it on Instagram. Definitely. I want to hire you for my wedding. Mm-hmm. It doesn't have to be so literal. They'll connect the dots. So when you're just starting out, create the content. And when you're creating that content, you're creating an opportunity for yourself. And by doing so, you're continually practicing your craft, improving and growing exponentially faster than you would have if you just waited to only post paid jobs. One other thing in the build section is you're never too good for a job. I see this a lot when we work with photographers, where I think it's healthy to have goals and aspirations and places you want to go, but I think it is unhealthy when you believe that you are only, you're too good for anything but those things. I think that everyone starts somewhere, and you're really never too good for any paid gig. You should be thankful that someone's wanting to invest in you. For example, Eric's first ever wedding, when he got his start, was a family friend, someone who had worked for Eric's parents actually, and they kindly asked Eric to shoot their wedding, and they invested their hard-earned money in his service. And the wedding was at, this is so Portlandia, we live in Oregon. It was at a nudist hot springs resort. So the wedding took place on this beautiful pasture overlooking a river in the middle of a forest with a ton of naked people sitting in the hot springs watching. I don't think the naked people were part of the wedding, but they were there and just like chilling in the hot springs and like clapping when the bride walked down the aisle.
I had to blur out some parts in post.
They were right there. Yeah. And Eric didn't stop for a second and go like, oh my gosh, like this is not my vibe. He was so sincerely in it to deliver the best that he could for those clients that he didn't even bat an eyelash, and he just worked so hard that day. And the photos were great, even the ones with the blurry naked people in the background. But really, I think Eric's humility has done him a great service over the years. And it's something that we really encourage others to remind themselves of, is that every client deserves your absolute best. And when you do incredible work with outstanding client service and vendor collaboration, it really can pay off exponentially. You have to look to the long-term visibility and goodwill of others when you're doing good work. And really, it allows you then to put your all into every job. And when you do that, you're able to harness the possibility for more referrals. I think that one thing you forget is that you're really only as good as your last wedding. There could be bridesmaids who get engaged and they'll book you because of that job. Or there were vendors who were there who, if you didn't do your best work, they're not going to refer you for the next time. So truly, every single job that you're at, when you leave it, you should walk away going, that was my best work. Absolutely. That was my best work. And to be your best work, it doesn't mean that it has to be a big budget wedding. You know, to make your photography portfolio look impressive, it doesn't have to be these floppity jillion dollar budget weddings. You know, if a wedding or a shoot doesn't seem quote unquote portfolio worthy, which I hate that term. I think every wedding is. You should never rest on your laurels because you don't think it's a wow wedding. Make it a wow wedding. Elevate the aesthetic through the way you view the day through your lens. You know, you make it a portfolio wedding. You make that $3,000 wedding look like a $5,000 wedding, and then you book a $5,000 wedding. Then you make that one look like a $10,000 wedding. You book a $10,000 wedding, and so on. The natural progression really follows from the extra effort you put in, and it will bring you bigger and better things.
It's also going to bring you joy because you're bringing your clients joy. And one thing that I try not to forget, and that I don't want any wedding photographers to forget, is that it's really all about the client. And if we're just thinking of their wedding as, oh, you know, what images am I going to create that are going to help me book the next job, that's kind of doing them a disservice. So when I really try to serve my clients and you know, deliver on their hopes and dreams and respect that investment so much, that's a good thing. And it makes me work harder and it makes me create better work.
Yep, absolutely. So that's kind of like a bird's eye view of the build phase of the 3-step plan. And next we want to talk about grow. So maybe you've already kind of built that foundation for success. You've started at the beginning, paid your dues, made those connections in your local market, and now you're ready to expand. And when you're looking to expand, I think there are some critical things that you need to really focus on. And I think one of those is your brand. A brand is not just your logo. And I think a lot of creatives, if you don't have a background in branding or marketing or that sort of thing, you think, I've got a logo, I know the name of my company, done, that's my brand. But it's really so much more to that. And I mean, I could talk for hours about it, but you really just have to apply your brand to all aspects of your business, not just your images, not just your logo. Your brand should shine through in everything you do, including every single email, every single personal encounter you have with a vendor or client or a guest at a wedding, everything you say in written form and verbally, everything you shoot, and absolutely everything that you show and you put out there for the world to see. I mean, I could talk about this forever. We can't get through it all today, but in the course, we have an entire chapter just on branding, and it has worksheets and applications for how to move forward with a clear and memorable brand so that you can stand out in the saturated market that the wedding industry can sometimes feel like. But today, I just want to encourage you to think about what is your brand and why. And speaking of why, that kind of brings me to my next point, which is defining success. So when you're in this growth phase and you're really trying to grow your business, instead of spinning your wheels, you have to stop and take a breath and say, why? Why do I want to grow? where do I want to go? Why is that where I want to be? And then once you know that why, it only applies to you, and it gives you a very personal and clear and concise idea of what your next steps are. It's not, I want to be like Jose Villa because he's Jose Villa, or, you know, I want to be like Eric McVay and do exactly what he did. They're their own people, and you are your own person, your own artist, your own business owner and entrepreneur. Your answer is the only right answer when you're asking yourself to define your idea of success. And it has to be a very real answer. So be honest with yourself. And we even have worksheets about this in the course. But once you've determined where you want to go and you've defined what success means to you, then and only then you can really create a roadmap of how you're going to get there. And more worksheets in the course all about building goals, strategies, and tactics to get to those goals, and mapping out a roadmap to success with very intentional steps and a clear direction of where you're going. And then once you've defined your success, you've built your brand, you know your roadmap of how you're going to get where you want to go, then you actually need to do it, and you have to go all in. There's no kind of like halfway about it, because when you go halfway, you're always going to be yearning for more, frustrated with the halfway results you're getting with your halfway effort. And something we also talk about in the course, but really you have to just go all in when you have that game plan finally in place. Yeah.
I'd love to share an example too with you guys. In 2012, the goal I wanted to achieve was working with planners and stylists more, because that's not something that I had in my wheelhouse at that point. So we kind of saw that all the top photographers had their go-to team of planners and stylists and florists, etc. And that's what we wanted. We wanted that. But I knew that we couldn't just reach out to those planners and stylists who already had established teams in place. So we researched the industry and looked for images that resonated with me and Amy. And that's when we found Ginny Ah. And you guys have probably heard me. If you've ever been on a webinar or heard me talk ever, Ginny Ah is like mentioned in every other sentence.
Yeah, we love her. She's amazing.
she's a planner and stylist who's based in Alabama, who seemed to be at about the same point in her career as I was in mine. And her work spoke to me. And she was creating work that I really wanted to shoot. And I knew that working with her would be the right thing for my brand and growth at that time. So I reached out to her. And we did a wedding and a few styled shoots together. And then she ended up doing all of my workshops, all of our workshops. And over the years, we grew together. And it led not only to Ginny and I doing more weddings together, but it also led to my work being noticed by high-end planners and stylists, those same ones that I had aspirations of working with way back in 2012. And so connecting with Ginny and growing together brought me more notoriety and those bigger paying jobs in the future.
So it's a great example of just like making that idea of like, this is what I want, here's my goal, and here's the roadmap to get there, and acting it out actually brought him the results he wanted. Great job, Eric.
Oh, thank you. I think you had something to do with it too.
Maybe. So we next want to talk about kind of the third step in the 3-step plan of build, grow, and sustain, and that's sustain. Once you've built that foundation, you got your start, you started out, you then grew your business. The next part cannot be just that you're forever on the hustle. It has to be thinking long-term, how can you make this career sustainable? Because hard work, going all in, doing your best isn't going to be enough to make it a career that lasts you 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, 20 years.
Might be enough.
If you want it for the long term, you have to think about how to make it sustainable. And a big part of that is figuring out how to work less and make more. And that's not a superficial statement. I think it's a very sincere and honest one that is out of necessity, because burnout is real. You have to know your limits. You have to know how much is too much. And you have to think strategically about how you can work smarter and not harder. You also have to know your numbers. I can't tell you how many times we've worked with a photographer who's pricing packages. The higher the package number was, like they booked their top package, they're actually making less than if the client had booked their second package, their humble middle of the road package.
And doing much more work.
And doing so much more work. But so really you have to know your profit margins for everything. You have to figure out how to streamline your expenses. And that's another way to make it a sustainable business, because you will burn out way too fast. You're going to run out of gas. And then you also have to know how to make room for additional success for the long term. And a big part of that is knowing when to say no to something, so that you can say yes to something bigger. I can't tell you how many times it's happened where we've said no to something, and then something bigger and better and more in line with our goals for our next steps in Eric's career appeared to fill that void that we had said no to. Just know that not every job is a good fit, and that's okay. Saying no sometimes leads to a bigger yes. And then a big part of sustaining your business is connections. It's referral sources with other vendors. And those connections cannot be forced. They have to be authentic and develop over time, so that they are real and honest and they're sustainable. So a good example, it's a demoralizing example of when we learned the hard way that these connections can't be forced, is back when Eric was like, okay, I'm really going to take control of this Oregon market. I've got Salem, Oregon, our little hometown. We got it on lock.
Going to expand 50 miles north to Portland.
We were going for the Portland market and all those big time weddings in Portland. So we made a list of every single wedding planner in Portland and basically all of Oregon. Any high-end wedding planner in Oregon.
Not even just high-end, just everybody. Everybody
living that said they were a planner. We made that list of planners and we sent an email saying, hey, my name's Eric. Here's my portfolio. I'd love to work with you. Maybe set up a time to grab coffee and chat. We sent out so many emails to those planners that Gmail actually froze Eric's account 2 days in a row because we were sending too many at once. And they were like, oh, hold on, this must be spam, which fair play, Gmail, it probably was spam.
Yeah.
And so all those emails sent, we heard back from 2 planners. 2. I don't even know how many emails we were sending. 2 planners wrote back. One said, thanks so much. I'll keep you in mind. And one planner said, great, come on up on this date, this time, and we'll meet. So we were like, yes, great. This is our opportunity. Let's do it. So we drive up to Portland. We go to the planner's office. And an intern meets us at the door and we say, hey, we're here to see so-and-so. She goes, oh, she's a little busy. She said, I can just chat with you. So we sat down with an intern. She said, thanks so much for coming in. And we left and we never heard from that planning team and never received a referral from them. No. So we tried so hard to force those connections and it didn't pan out. So what does work, and it's not a fun answer. It's not one that's like, oh, I'll get results tomorrow, but it's playing the long game. You have to look to the future and just pay your dues, do really good work and make sure it's seen. It's so cheesy, but Field of Dreams, they can do no wrong. Love that movie. And it's so true. If you build it, they will come. It's so cheesy, but it's so true.
So cheesy.
I know. But if you build an incredible business that has good work, good word of mouth, incredible client service, you're going to make it impossible for planners not to notice you in the long term through social media, getting your work published on publications and blogs, happy clients, fellow vendors that refer you. You're going to finally build those connections, and you're going to do so when you actually get to work with those planners. That first opportunity very rarely comes from you reaching out saying, I want to work together. It's usually more natural. A planner will email Eric saying, I saw your work. It looks amazing. I recommended you to a client. More often than not, it's my clients love your work. They'd like a quote. And then we take advantage of the opportunity when it comes. So when you finally have a chance to work with one of these vendors that you've been longing to build a connection with, you take advantage of it. You be the absolute best person ever to work with. You're the most fun, the most communicative, the most talented and kind. You do a fast delivery on an incredible full gallery for their clients. You're collaborative in spirit. And then when you do all of those things, why wouldn't they refer you again? Eric's the best. I only want to work with Eric, So when you do good things and then you get that opportunity in an authentic, natural progression of time and things that happen, then you build a connection that will last and sustain your business for the long term, for years to come.
Yeah. And guys, we're 10 years into this. Yeah, so it does not happen all at once. It's a slow burn and you have to be committed to the long haul and not let it beat you down at all. You have to just stay positive, keep on keeping on, and it gradually grows out. Just like Amy said, you build it from the, your local market and gradually work your way out. I mean, I didn't shoot a wedding outside of Salem for a few years into shooting a wedding. And then I didn't shoot a wedding outside of Oregon for another couple of years. So it takes time.
So don't get discouraged. I mean, a slow, natural progression is going to be more sustainable in the long term and give you, I think, more opportunities and more success in the future. So that's the Build, Grow, Sustain plan. Again, I could talk about it forever. It goes into much more detail in the course, but that's it for now. So, once we found our flow and we were booking those bigger jobs and really growing Eric's business and figuring out how to sustain his business, our next thing that we really set our sights on was destination work outside of Oregon. And there were really two main reasons why we wanted to book outside of Oregon. First, Oregon's an awesome place. We love it here, but it's really not known for its high-end and high-budget weddings. The business model that we wanted to execute was one of working less and making more through fewer high-paying jobs. And those higher price point jobs just very rarely were available in Oregon, so we had to look elsewhere. And the second reason we wanted to get outside of Oregon was just for more variety in our work.
Yeah, I know myself, and I like to keep things interesting and mix things up. I need variety, and I knew that I would definitely get bored if I was shooting in the same place every weekend. I was already starting to feel that.
Got to keep it interesting.
So here's what we get asked about possibly more than anything else is how do I actually book destination weddings?
And we kind of have two main anecdotal stories of how we did it. First being how we busted out of the Oregon market and went outside of just our local state. And that is our California story. It's one that I think we've shared a few different times with people and in workshops, but I think there's so much applicable lessons learned in it. We knew we wanted outside of Oregon, and we thought California was a great first stop along the way to growing Eric's reach within the industry. It's close by, so price point wise, we weren't going to be spending a fortune traveling to get there, and it had high price point markets within California. So we actually, to get seen in the California markets, we knew we had to create work for California. And so Eric and I actually took a couple different road trips down from Oregon all the way through California. I think the photo you're seeing right now was in San Diego at the very end of one of our road trips. But we planned all of these shoots with friends, family, industry people that we knew from Instagram. Yeah, exactly. We just set up a whole bunch of stuff, landscape shots just from along the drive. I mean,
shot my friend's sunglass company photos to promote their business.
These two people are high school friends of Eric's who were living in San Francisco at the time and were big surfers. So we did like a kind of pseudo engagement session with them. They were not engaged. They're not even together anymore, but they were great images for his portfolio that showed him working in California. So instead of just saying, I want to shoot in California, it was, I've shot in California, I do shoot in California. We made those images work for us. They were published, they were seen on Eric's Instagram, we're using geo tags, tons of strategies to apply when creating new destination content. And all of that's covered in the course.
Yeah, I didn't want to feel like a phony when I was sort of marketing myself to the California market. I wanted to be the real deal, and I really needed content to show that that was true. So it worked on a lot of different levels.
And it worked so well that a lot of inquiries we started to receive from California thought Eric lived in California and was based there, and that he only worked in California because within a year, like 30% of our jobs were California based.
Totally. And that was totally fine. And I believe that I traveled at a very low, if no cost on those California weddings as though I was local for the first year. So to really, for us and for them, there was no difference.
And then from there, the destination, like international work, actually came to us through an opportunity that we really took advantage of. It wasn't that someone reached out that we hadn't known or, something like that. Do you want to talk about how that
totally
happened?
So first destination really inquiry / booking was a 10-year vow renewal in Norway for a couple of dear friends of ours, Wes and Nina. Some fellow film photographers. And Nina called me up one day and said, we want to have a 10-year vow renewal in Norway, and we want you to shoot it. We're going like to the fjords. It's going to be beautiful, and we can cover your costs. And I didn't think twice.
And she was so sweet. She was like, I'm so sorry. I don't want this to be insulting. Like, please say no. You probably won't want to do it. And Eric was like, yeah, I want to do it. I want to be there. Let's do this.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
So we jumped on it. I mean, it sounded like an amazing trip. It was my first real opportunity to shoot something outside of the country and create a bunch of beautiful content that I could use to market myself. And hung up the phone, told Amy, and the first thing we did was we talked about how can we parlay this into more work. So what we did is we started Googling, and we found about 20 to 30 different wedding planners and venues throughout Europe. And we told them, hey, we're going to be in Europe or in France or in Italy, depending on what it was or who it was, for these 2 weeks. If you have any clients who are looking for a photographer, we are going to be here and we can shoot at a low cost because we're saving on travel and we're already in the area. And I believe we got, once again, maybe two responses.
That's our magic number for these just blind email spammy things we do.
Yes.
But we got 2 responses. One was from an Italian planner who said, great, I'll keep you in mind. And we never heard back. And then one was
the other was from this French chateau in the Dordogne region of France, this beautiful chateau, and spoke with them. They ended up booking us, connecting us with 2 of their clients, and we booked weddings on consecutive weekends in that time frame that we were going to be in Europe. So we came back from that Europe trip with basically 3 events worth of content. And, we shot them all basically at cost, but that was an investment. That was our marketing cost for us.
Exactly.
That was an investment in our future. And we used all that content to then market ourselves as destination wedding photographers and kind of attract all kinds of clients, whether they were, if I was shooting a local wedding, and I would hear clients all the time say, hey, this is my photographer. He just got back from shooting a wedding in France. It worked on that level. And it also worked on the level of, for potential destination clients, it proved to them that we could talk the talk and walk the walk.
That he was a destination photographer. Yeah, I mean, you really, creating the content really is key. You can't just put in your Instagram bio, destination wedding photographer, and then have no photos of any destination work. And so it's an investment, I think, on the front end, unless sometimes just happenstance, it happens. Like we randomly got asked by our friends, Wes and Nina, to shoot their vow renewal in Norway. It fell into our lap. So we got lucky, but we then parlayed it into additional work so that we really could create a ton of content. And then we made that content work for us so hard for so long. We got those images from all 3 of those events published a million times over. They were on blogs and on Instagram. We're tagging everything. We're putting it on Pinterest. Everything got pinned and repinned and reposted so much that I felt like, especially the Norway vow renewal, it was everywhere for a while. And it really was how we got our start. And again, it's one of those things where when you make the content unavoidable for people to see, you have that snowball effect and it grows from there. So yes, we didn't make any money on those first opportunities or maybe barely any, but it was our marketing investment on the front end that we knew would pay off in the long run.
Yeah,
and it did.
And guys, I've never booked another Norway wedding or vow renewal since that point.
Yeah.
But my next 2 destination weddings, I believe, were in Italy and Bali. And you can betcha that both of those couples had seen that work and booked me based on that work. So it doesn't translate. It's not a direct translation all the time. I don't shoot a Norway wedding because I want to shoot more Norway weddings, but it's going to build my brand and make it more luxury and prove to future clients and potential clients that I can do that sort of thing.
Yeah. So if it's a family vacation, a girls trip, if you're going somewhere that's destination adjacent.
Destination-y is a word.
It is. It's super technical. Bring your camera, create content, maybe set up a freestyled shoot for a cute couple you find on Instagram. I have strong Instagram stalking game, super strong.
Quite strong.
And no shame about it. Like it really has worked for us in the past when we were booking clients to shoot content in new places so that we could show Eric was a destination photographer. And so you really have to put the proof in the pudding first and then more destination work evolves from there. And then another really big part of the puzzle when you're doing destination wedding stuff is pricing. I think that that's something that can be daunting for a lot of people, is how do you price for destination work? And I think it's critical that you think through a couple main things. First, why do you want the job and what do you want out of it? Is it a trip or a vacation, or is there a profit margin? So when we were first starting, it was get us to Norway. We don't care if we're making a profit. We're investing in this for marketing purposes so that we can get more work. So for that point in our career, it made sense to give a big discount and to not worry so much about the profit margin. If you're more established, or you really need to provide for your family, profit margin is king, and you have to treat the job accordingly. And you have to just do what's in your best interest when it comes to pricing and giving deals. And a big thing that we learned along the way was twofold. First of all, nickel and diming with destination clients is the absolute worst. So when you're showing, here's my travel pricing, like here's my rental car and food per diem or hotel, and here's my airfare, and you're quoting them individual line items for travel, it's a very, very slippery slope to being asked, can you use my grandma's airline miles? My uncle has a guest room. Can you crash with my cousin? Like they start looking at ways to cross out those line items to save, because I mean, especially destination weddings, it can be big dollar signs, and you don't want your clients to see opportunities to cost save at your expense. No. You should be fully in control of your travel itinerary so that you can do things like book 2 more France weddings the week after your other job, or, to make sure that you get in at an appropriate time and they're not putting you on a red eye with 4 layovers because it was the cheapest flight option. And then you're exhausted and can't really perform to the best of your ability during the wedding day.
And we also found that separating travel out from sort of your wedding photography package costs just really puts a magnifying glass on how expensive travel is. And especially when you're early on in your career, as I was at one point, I remember, I would separate out travel from my wedding package, and the travel actually costs more than the package. And if I'm sending that to a client, not only does that, it kind of devalues me, but it, like I said, puts a magnifying glass on it, and they think, well, I could be spending all of this money that I'm spending on this guy's travel on a local photographer, albums, or an engagement session, and get a lot more mileage out of it.
It's true. I guess, we're just about done in terms of time. I wish we could talk for so many more hours. There's so much more we want to share with you guys. And again, it is all covered and so much more in Eric's online course. But for now, just a heads up, stay with us because we're about to show the webinar demo video that we have. But before we do that, I did just want to remind you again that Eric's course is amazing, if I do say so myself. Great job on it. We really just believe so fully in it. And with it being on sale, we just encourage you all to take advantage. It's 750 plus pages of everything we know, and you'll learn all of our mistakes that we've made so that you don't have to make them. It's really everything we wish we knew when we got started and all the ththings we've learned along the way. And we just can't say enough about how proud we are of it and how much we believe in what it can do for you.
You're going to learn how to book the jobs that you want to at prices you deserve, as we've talked about a lot today. Also the tools, techniques, lighting strategies, settings, everything that's required to master. You never really master film photography, and how to stand out in a crowded, saturated market and attract your ideal clients.
We also talk in an entire chapter about wedding photography from start to finish. So from the moment the inquiry comes in your inbox to when you are delivering final prints or online galleries, your final package, Eric shows you exactly what he does at every single step along the way. His emails, his packages, his pricing, and then what he delivers at the end. He also shows exactly how he shoots a wedding on a wedding day, including wedding timelines and how he shoots details, every single detail of a wedding day and how Eric works his wedding clients.
Yeah, we also talk about understanding and shooting film. It's a beast. There are so many aspects to it that I didn't realize when I started shooting film, and that I had great teachers, but there's still a lot that I wish that I had known when I started that I kind of had to figure out along the way. And I think it's such a huge advantage to kind of have those tools right from the beginning, so you can avoid a lot of the mistakes, expensive and heartbreaking mistakes that I did.
The course also has entire chapters on social media and marketing and branding. So basically, doing great work is never going to be enough. And a lot of times it's something that artists struggle with, and it's something that I love helping artists with, is you can't just be a talented creative and make good imagery. You have to be able to run a profitable business, and you have to be able to get that great imagery seen. So we talk a lot about that in the course as well.
Yeah, also attracting a destination wedding client, which is kind of what we were able to touch on today. Yeah. But it is vast. Yeah. And it's nuanced, and it's a little bit different for everybody. And I love how much detail we do go into in the course.
And then we kind of touched on destination pricing, but we also talk in the course about pricing in general. You see Eric's entire pricing brochure, how he prices things and why, what lessons he learned along the way in terms of what works and what doesn't. And then some worksheets for you about your pricing as well.
And we talk about post-production. Yeah. For those of you who have been shooting film for a little while, you know that shooting film isn't kind of the magic bullet to zero editing. Post-production is a part of the work, not as much as it is, you know, when you're shooting digitally, but it is still a part of the work. And I think something that is going to bring your work to the next level and bring it all together and kind of put your stamp on every image, so that it's yours. It's fully yours. So I love the post-production section because I have sort of screen capped videos and photos of what I do in Lightroom to adjust film scans and make them perfect before I send them out the door.
Yeah. We really believe that this course and learning opportunity gives you the techniques that are going to help you with so many of the goals that we hear from photographers that they have, and to overcome so many of the hurdles that are common in the industry. You know, you're going to figure out how to gain more inquiries and then convert them to bookings, how to grow your business and, you know, make a successful transition to film photography if that's what you want to do, how to attract that destination wedding work, and how to price your packages to maximize profit. Because at the end of the day, again, this is not just a hobby, it's a career. So money matters. And at the end of the day, what you're bringing home matters. And so we talk a lot about that in the course. And again, my favorite thing about the course is our online community on Facebook. It has become such a source of joy for us even. You know, we set it up so that we could give back to the people who invested in the course, but we get so much from it as well. There are such positive, talented, kind photographers in there all working together to support one another. And it continues for years to come. You know, there's no expiration date on your access to Eric and I for any question you ever have. If you buy the course, post that in that group and we're back to you within a week's time, if not sooner, you know? Yeah. So I love that aspect of it because it means your learning never ends and our working relationship never ends. And that's what we wanted. So again, one last time before you all see the webinar demo video, what you get when you buy the course. It's 750 pages of all original content written personally by Eric and I. So much toiling on those laptops for months.
Ooh, years, months.
A lot of typing. 3 videos of Eric shooting, and again, those corresponding full galleries so you can see what he created in those moments that you watch him shoot. 16 printable worksheets so that you can apply what you learn and make it matter for your career and your craft. And then access to our online community for ongoing support and camaraderie. Yeah.
Well said.
Hey, Emily, I don't think we can hear you.
Can you hear me now? Sorry about that.
Yeah, no worries.
Now through Thursday, you guys can save $1,000 on wedding photography with Eric McVay, and I can vouch this is an incredible course. After that, the retail price goes up to $2,498. So that's a 40% discount on the course. And even during our annual flash sales, this price point, it's never going to be this low again. So if you click here the offer to the right to check out more details about the course, don't worry if you click on the offer, it won't take you out of the webinar. It just opens up a new tab in your browser. And we totally understand what a huge investment this is when you're starting out, or even if you're running an existing business, which is why we're excited to offer payment plans to both US and international residents. So you can invest in this course starting at only $149 a month. And you can find more info about our payment plan options on our Buy Now page when you go to checkout. And even if you sign up for the payment plan, you still get immediate access to the course and Facebook group today. You'll also receive lifetime access on any device, laptop, tablet, desktop, or mobile. We've really created this course to work for you on your schedule when it's convenient, whether you're doing this full time or you actually have a full-time job and this is your side hustle. Over 500 students have taken Eric's online course. And if you click the offer in the top right-hand corner, you'll actually be able to watch video testimonials from our previous students and hear how this course has transformed their businesses. We're also excited to announce that you can buy this course at absolutely no risk to you. We're offering a 15-day money-back guarantee. We know what a big investment this is for creatives, so it's important for us that you feel confident taking this step towards transforming your business for the better. And as a bonus, if you buy wedding photography with Eric McVeigh in the next 30 minutes, you'll also receive a free bonus video class of Eric teaching you how he edits his photos in Lightroom. This is a $199 valued class you get absolutely free. You'll want to use the promo code wedding photography in the checkout to get access to this bonus video. So if you entered our giveaway to win Eric's free course, Becca is actually going to put the winner of this giveaway up right now in the chat section. And then we're going to be playing the webinar demo where you can actually watch Eric live behind the scenes as he directs and shoots a real couple. So Becca's going to be putting up this giveaway winner right now in the chat section.
Who is it?
Awesome. Okay, guys, well, we're going to go ahead and play the demo video. Please stick around for afterwards because Eric and Amy will be answering questions live. And feel free to ask questions during the demo. Our moderators are keeping track of everything, and we're going to get to as many as we can here in a few minutes.
It's 4 hours before sunset, bright sun, full sun, in the middle of the beach. Basically, first thing we did is come down here, assess, and look for some shade. First thing I want to do is bring them right into this shadow here, and I could put them all the way into the shadow, which is going to be really nice because there's lots of nice bright light, these natural reflectors off of the neutral sand tones. But first thing, I love having them backlit, so I'm going to have them put them in the shadow, come out to where you can see perfect right there, and you'll notice they're still standing inside of the shadow, which is going to be great because if I had them come all the way out, you guys come out a couple more feet, and they're nicely backlit. We got that dark background, like we talk about the backlit on a solid background. But if I back out and I shoot a full body, we're going to have this really bright spot all in the bottom of the frame where they're standing. So if I instead have them back up, you guys back up just couple more yards right there, perfect. So right there, I've got this nice frame. The whole frame is going to be kind of this in the shadow and not having that bright blowout spots that are going to be detractors from the overall image. I'll give you guys a ton of direction today. Obviously, I've seen beautiful pictures of you guys and know that you're already awesome together, but I'm going to give you a ton of direction and tell you whenever I want something. If I'm not telling you to change something, then it's good. It's good to go. You never have to ask if you know, you're doing something wrong, or if even a smile or eyes are in the right place. Like, we'll be looking for all that stuff, and I got you covered on it. All right, first thing I'm gonna have you guys do, oh, you're too good. Actually, do that and grab his wrist just like you were doing. I love that. I love that. I'm gonna turn you guys a little bit more towards me, just a bit. So actually, guys, turn back again. I'll show you what I was looking at. So at first, I was noticing a little bit of bright spots on his shoulder, which is just because of the angle to the sun. So if we turn a little bit this way, those bright spots just went away, and everything's working together. Looks amazing. And I'm just gonna have you guys look at the camera just like that. First, got a meter, and important thing, metering. Again, if I'm gonna step back and be back, you know, a couple feet away, or let's say 6 feet away, when I'm shooting, I want to make sure that I'm not in the way, that I'm not in between where they are and where I'm gonna be when I'm shooting, when I meter. So move to the side, I got 1,000th of a second. If I then come up and I'm shooting up here this close to him later on, I probably want to remeter when I'm here. And it actually changed to 1/2000th of a second, so a full stop. And that was only because the sun is hitting my bright white shirt and reflecting on them. Whereas when I was over here in metering, that wasn't there. So it's only to say that it changes the reading, you know, based on where I'm positioned. So just keep that in mind. Can you look down at her, Kyle? Yes, beautiful, beautiful. Right there, Michelle, perfect. 1, 2, 3. Love that. Give her a little, nuzzle her head a little bit, touch your nose kind of into her. Yes. And right now I'm kind of dealing with, the sun is blowing out my frame a little bit, so I'm holding my hand up in order to knock that down, knock that flare down, so that I get that locked in image. So I'm gonna get in real close. I love this detail of them. Touch your noses together, get in there, make her smile. Yep, beautiful. Give her a kiss on the back cheek, back there. Beautiful, beautiful. Michelle, eyes closed for a sec. You bring your hand right up on here on her. Yes, right there. That's perfect. Keep coming up, keep coming up. Okay, face each other, hug in. Gorgeous. Actually, I have to have you guys switch sides this time. Switch sides because he's taller and the sun's off to this side. So it was kind of hitting his face when they were facing each other. So I switched them. Should take care of that issue. Yeah, just like that. And I'm gonna have both you guys look towards me. Yes. Perfect. Perfect right there. Amazing. And 1, 2, 3. So I'm gonna have you guys walk towards me. Doesn't matter too much where you're looking. Just switch it up. You can kind of look down at her, down at where you're walking. Michelle, at him, at where you're walking, towards me. I'll tell you guys if I want you to like keep doing something. Otherwise, just kind of a wherever. As long as you look like you're not hating life, it's good. Somewhat happy together, then we're gonna be just fine. 500th, and I'm ready. Yes, I love that. Yes, going for a kiss. Oh. Yes, right there. Oh, I love it, I love it. And break smile, stay close. Bigger smiles. Good, no, bigger. There. So one thing I noticed right off is that if I shoot right into the sun here, the sun's still up high, but I'm gonna have trouble cutting down that lens flare because it's still coming into my lens. The sun's low enough that it's getting in there. So if I can still have her backlit, but if I turn a little bit to put the sun over this way, I can cut down on that flare and have that nice locked in, really nice contrast, really nice color shot that I'm looking for. So actually, Michelle, I'm gonna have you come right over here and up a little bit more, right there. So I've got this beautiful backdrop here. Love that right there. So perfect. Look straight off that way, like that. Yes, right there. Perfect, perfect. Keep your head that way, eyes kind of to me. You can even move just a tiny bit if that feels a little more. Yeah. Relax the shoulder tiniest bit. Yeah, perfect. I love that. Love that. Right there. And 1, 2, 3. Oh, man.
Well, everyone, we hope you enjoyed the webinar demo video that you guys just saw. There's so much more included in the course. Not only do you get 750 pages of content, but you actually get 3 videos of Eric kind of shooting behind the scenes. You get that kind of behind the shoulder view of Eric as he's directing models, shooting invitation suites, shooting tablescapes. The videos are awesome. And if you want some more previews, you can actually click on the link in the top right-hand corner and check out some more previews of the course on the launch page. So Eric and Amy, we've got a lot of really great questions in store for y'all. So we're going to go ahead and jump right in. The first question is from Christina. What kept you motivated in the beginning of building your business, aka when things and money aren't flowing easily?
Definitely. Well, it wasn't my grandpa, the accountant, who told me to quit my job because I wasn't making enough money.
Yeah.
So when I actually switched to film, the business took a little bit of a hit for a couple years, and I had a slight downturn.
Yeah.
But I knew that I was building towards something bigger, and that, again, being able to create those really strong film galleries, learning film really quickly, and all of these things were going to lead to me being able to charge more and more. And in the long run, I was going to get much farther than I would have if I kind of kept doing the same things.
And we had a plan in place. And I think that was something that was so crucial to us being able to stay the course. You know, we say that a lot, stay the course, play the long game. But if you don't have a plan so that you can trust in yourself and know that you're actually working towards something, and you have done all the research and the hard work to ensure that it matters and it's going to end with a good return on investment, then you're going to give up or you're going to be too discouraged. And I think it also helps that we had each other. And that's something
Big
that
time.
You know, not everybody has if you don't have a partner who works on the business with you. And that's why I love our community, is that you can support one another and have a place where you can bounce ideas off each other, because you go insane if you're just working alone. You can't be an island in this industry. So that's a big part of it too. And then finally, it's hard work. There were definitely family gatherings missed. There were friends where we couldn't come to a birthday party because we were working, or, you know, we missed out on some stuff. I grew up on a farm, and we always had a harvest season. And Eric and I, for many years, said we're in the harvest season. This is harvest. And like,
a 5-year-long harvest.
But we knew it wasn't always going to be like that. And we knew that it was going to pay off for the very, very long term because of our hard work that we were putting in on the front end.
Maria asks, when you talk to your clients about photography and pricing, do you bring up that you shoot film, or is that a moot point? This is your pricing and that's it.
So it is a natural part of the conversation these days. It's not something. So in my bio, in the pricing that I send, I do talk a little bit about being a film photographer. I'm finding more and more clients in 2019 are seeking out film shooters. Either it's something their friends are telling them, they're seeing it online, or their wedding planners are making that distinction and either saying, hey, here are some great film shooters and here are some great digital shooters. Or I know planners who only recommend film shooters because that's how they like to have their work captured. So the question was, how do we address this? I'm finding that more and more I'm able to use this as a selling point. And
but I think also, sorry to interrupt.
Yeah,
I do that a lot. I don't think that shooting film, you have to somehow justify your price or say, I shoot film and it costs this much per roll plus development, so this is why I charge this. Not at all. No other business or product out there did I say, here's how much it costs to make this, so that's why it costs this much. That's not how it works. There's always going to be a profit margin, and you don't answer to anyone when it comes to what that profit margin is and why. So you do not explain yourself to the client. You explain your value to the client. And I think that's what you talk about. You don't talk about every single line item of your revenue and then gross versus net. That's not what the client should hear. The client should have a very high level luxury experience with you where it is, here is my value, this is why I'm worth so much, and they never once question, well, why am I paying for this? Because they have been convinced along the way at every touch point, of course I would pay this, my gosh, you're worth so much more. So really you avoid that hurdle by really not coming from a place of apologetically explaining yourself, but owning the room, owning the discussion, and believing fully in the value of what you're delivering to clients.
I'm not selling them on film, I'm selling them on myself and my images.
Everyone, just a quick reminder, you still have a few minutes to take advantage of getting that free Lightroom editing video if you purchase on the webinar using the promo code Wedding Photography. Another question we have from D is, I don't own a film camera and I'm not sure this is something I want to incorporate. I'm just so intimidated by film. Would this course be a good fit for me?
I think yes, because I know that it's something that I would have loved to have when I first started out. Just when you're new to film and film is overwhelming, it's great to have a resource to be able to answer a lot of those questions and tell you what to do and kind of help direct you. So yeah. Like I don't want to beat a dead horse, but like I talked about in the earlier part of the webinar, but I think that's something that's so important and something that this course really harps on.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's so much detail about film in the course, but there's almost, I mean, even more so, I mean, if not exactly equal amounts about business and how to market your company and how to price yourself regardless of what medium you use. So maybe you just have a vague interest in film. This course is still for you. It's definitely going to be well worth its price, especially at the sale price. And I think it adds so much value to any sort of creative business, but especially film photographers or photographers in general, even if you don't have a film camera yet.
And if film seems overwhelming, I really believe in this as a resource.
Yeah. And we actually had a lot of questions around pricing. And one of the things about Eric and Amy's course is that they hold nothing back. A lot of times with online courses, something that we hear, not specifically about If I Make courses, but other courses, is they felt like the expert only gave a portion of what they know. Eric and Amy share everything. I mean, you heard Amy say earlier, they share Eric's exact pricing brochure, what he charges, how he came to that amount. They really hold back nothing. And that is so valuable when you first are starting out. I mean, you guys know, waste so much money, so much time figuring these things out on your own. Back when we started our businesses, this type of learning wasn't available. And I just think back about how amazing would it have been to have an opportunity to learn from someone who had come before me. And I don't have to make all those mistakes. I don't have to spend all that money learning those hard lessons.
True.
And one thing I love about the online course format too is that you can do it at your own pace.
Yeah.
You know, sometimes, you know, when we would do our in-person workshops, it felt like we were just like, you know, we wake up just at 6 and we were in the classroom and doing shoots all day and trying to fit in so much in such a short amount of time. And we always felt like we were leaving things behind or glossing over stuff or going too fast to even be able to comprehend it. And I really like that you can go at your own pace and take your time and do the worksheets. And I just think it's a great way to learn.
Yeah, and revisit the content. I mean, that's one of the things that you'll hear from Eric and Amy's previous students is, you know, there's opportunities for you to continuously come back to the content. Because when you attend an in-person workshop, it has a tendency, it's hard to retain all that information. And that's the benefit of online learning is at different points of your career, you can come back and learn something new. We had a question from Haley. So how do you present your all-in-one fee? Do you have a custom pricing PDF or do you send that amount in an email? So unsure of how to make an all-in-one fee look nice. Haha.
Yeah. So as far as the client knows, there's no difference between my destination pricing brochure and my local brochure. They always say all travel included and they just have different prices.
So it's a PDF, I guess, to further explain. Yeah. It's not just in an email. It is a PDF that has tons of imagery within it. And you see Eric's pricing PDF within the course, so you can see how he lays it out. But it's full of imagery so that they are so emotionally invested by the time they get to the numbers that they're like, yes, I will pay double. I love this. It has to be you that shoots my wedding. You know, so it makes it more palatable than just an email with a huge dollar amount. And then thanks so much. Sincerely, Eric. Yeah.
So I think we answered.
Yeah, I think so.
David asked, how often does the course go on sale other than this 40%, and when is the best time to pick it up? So David, we actually have an annual flash sale at If I Made where all of our courses are 20% off. That's our only sale during the year. So right now is actually the best time to buy Eric and Amy's course. It does not go on sale for 40% off again. And then kind of to jump off that question, Stephen recently asked, you know, how often do you update the information in your course? Every few years, every year? If I buy the course, do I have to buy the updated version later on? And Amy, I think this is the benefit of the Facebook group, right? Because there's no way that you could update the course every week. But with the Facebook group, do you want to share a little bit more about what that looks like?
Yeah. So Eric and I have talked about this before because, I mean, we wrote this course, you know, a little while ago, and things are constantly evolving in the industry, but we kept that in mind when we created the course. And I think that was a big part of having the online community, because I think everything within the course is still absolutely applicable and timely, but there are more things that Eric learns every time he goes out on a job. For example, Eric, I just saw he posted in the Facebook group today saying, hey guys, here's an example of something I just learned about shooting invitation suites. And he showed some side-by-side comparisons and some insights into a strategy he had just recently come to realize works best for him for color correcting for invitation suites shot on film. So that was something not in the course, but he learned it. And if he learns it, he's going to share it with the course investors who are in our online community.
And of course, you know, people reaching out with questions all the time, I'm going to answer those questions right away.
Yeah.
I find
so we evolve together in the community more so than just in the PDF format of the course.
Yeah, it's great because the Facebook group actually helps me. I mean, people give great insight into some of the more up-to-date concerns of photographers and what's going on, you know, right now. And they'll post questions, and it gives us all a chance to think about it, and we always answer right away.
Yeah.
Cool. Another pricing question from Haley. Multi-day events. How do you structure your pricing to make these doable?
Multi-day events. So first and foremost, I'm always just going to make sure that my profit margin is where I want it to be. Of course, multi-day events, you can't discount the time that you spend traveling and shooting these events. So it's not always about hard costs. But what I always do is if I'm sending out a custom quote for a multi-day event, I'm going to first write out all my hard costs and then do the math on that. And basically I want to be at like a factor of 4 on my hard cost. So I want to be clearing, you know, a 75% profit margin.
And that's all built into his pricing brochure. So he has the a la carte stuff of like additional hours coverage, or like engagement shoot, pre-wedding shoot, rehearsal dinner coverage. And so they already see those numbers. And so all he does is then say, this plus this equals that. So it's not like surprise numbers. It's within his pricing brochure. And then
it's all for a reason. But, you know, when we have to come up with these custom quotes, sometimes it can be overwhelming and confusing. And it's just a tool that I like to use to use profit margin in the end to help me to solidify sort of those numbers that I've come up with. And all those numbers are based on what's listed in my PDF.
Yeah.
So they're not just coming out of thin air.
Cool. I saw some questions come in around payment plans. Do you get immediate access if you purchase with the payment plan? Is this the lowest price the payment plan will be? So yes, right now the $149 a month is also the lowest that you're going to see the payment plan price be this year. And yes, you do get immediate access to the course. And in fact, I want to share a little behind the scenes video so you can actually see the dashboard that you guys are going to be getting. And this is something you get immediate access to when you purchase the course. Hey everyone, so sorry about that. For some reason, the sound didn't want to play for y'all. It was playing for us, but not for you guys. So
no, that
was a silent screen share video. So sorry about that. Anyways, what you guys were seeing was actually what you're going to be receiving when you purchase the course. So PDFs, worksheets, videos, everything's in the dashboard. You can access it on your mobile device, your iPad, your desktop. If you have any questions or want to see a behind the scenes sneak peek, feel free to email info@ifimade.com. We'll send a video. So sorry again that sound wasn't working. But we're going to get back and answer a few questions. Josa asks, how many rolls of film did you end up with at the end of a wedding day?
About 70 rolls of film is pretty standard for me these days.
For like an 8-hour wedding. Because then there's different, how many hours the rolls count go up.
Of course. Yeah. How many hours of daylight shooting is a big factor in how many it ends up being.
Real quick though, if you're shooting film for a wedding, you do not have to shoot 70 rolls of film.
No, when I started out,
an 8-hour wedding to deliver a great final product. So please don't hear Eric's number and think, oh, great, well then I can't. Because when you were just starting out, like how many rolls of film would you shoot for an 8-hour
I think
day?
I was shooting 20 to 25. And
delivering great, solid, full galleries.
Definitely. Yeah, it was more than enough. Yeah. And as I've grown, I've just tended to shoot more.
Christina asks, what do you do to stay creative, to keep posing your couples in an original way so that your work doesn't start to seem repetitive?
I think shooting film is part of how I stay creative. And that kind of sounds like I'm BSing, but it really is because I'm more in the moment when I shoot film. I'm not thinking about the screen or how the image is coming out on the back of the screen. I'm really I'm locked in with my camera and the environment and the couple. And I feel like that helps me be more creative because I see the light, I see the moment, I see the interaction between the two people better than I did when I would just holding down the shutter and shooting digitally. And that's just me.
And I think that another portion of Eric's creative where he fills it up, and I've seen him apply it to then paid client work, is when he does personal work. Things that have nothing to do with weddings. Maybe it's just a model and a stylist, or we've gotten weird with some personal shoots, and it's fulfilled Eric on an artistic level that I think he then is able to apply to his couple shoots. And so he's shooting with fresh eyes and a reinvigorated artistic voice where he can apply new vision to the same old stuff of bride and groom, engaged couple. It can be monotonous, but not when you are refreshing yourself over and over. Yeah, guys,
out of my last 3 shoots, one of them was all on Instax film, and one of them was architectural shots all on the Fuji GFX. So those it is nice to not do the same thing all the time and feel kind of creatively reinvigorated and do different things, and that helps me be a better wedding film photographer doing those things.
Just a quick reminder, everyone, you still have a few minutes to take advantage of getting that free Lightroom video, and there is a 15-day money-back guarantee on this course, and all If I Made courses have a money-back guarantee, and this is really important to us. We know what a huge investment this is, and we feel so confident in the content that we offer this money-back guarantee because we believe it is going to transform your business. So if you're on the fence about purchasing, is it a good fit for me? I don't know if I'm ready to jump into film. Purchase it. There's no risk to you. I think once you get in that Facebook group, you're going to be able to see all the value that comes from it. So it really is an incredible course. Mathis asks, how do you manage your film rolls on a fast-paced wedding day? Do you do this with or without an assistant?
I always have a great assistant, and all of my assistants are full-time film wedding photographers who shoot on the contact. So they know the gear that I shoot. I can rely on them to load the camera and shoot throughout the day. And I don't number my rolls because for me, things move. I just shoot too much film and things move too quickly. So I don't number them and keep them in order. But I still feel that we're able to keep very organized. I have, just to really quickly, I have 3 different film backs that I shoot on, and one always has Fuji 400H, one always has Portra 800, and one always has black and white film. So that's a trick that I started doing a few years ago that really helps me stay organized and mentally there, because I always know what's in the camera.
Yeah. Our next question is from Jacqueline. What if you're scared to go all in? Self-doubt is such a big hurdle.
Mm-hmm. I can't even imagine what that feels like, because I have the luxury of being just the cheerleader behind the scenes going, Eric's so awesome, book him. And I don't have to have the vulnerability of putting myself out there as my own brand. But it's something that we actually talk about a lot in the course, is how do you find the value within yourself to believe in yourself and to go all in. I think that a lot of it comes, ironically, from detaching your own identity from your business and your work. I think so often, especially in the creative field, you can become so emotionally invested in your work that you take every single thing so personally that it can deflate you quickly. It can exhaust you and you burn out and you just can't stand to be in it a moment longer because you're so demoralized at all times. And I think that's something that is so healthy to do, is to remember that your business and your photos are not you. You are a person with a well-rounded life. If your life is not very well-rounded because you're so focused on photography, it's unhealthy. And I think it will show in your final work and in your final product that you deliver to clients. So having a life outside of your livelihood is key for making sure that you can maintain your self-confidence, because you are more than your work. You're so much more than that. And so when you remember that and invest in that and nurture that, I think that you can grow more within your work.
Mm.
We have a couple more questions that we're going to get answered before we hop off here, but we have a couple more minutes where you can get advantage of the Lightroom editing video. And this next question is actually about your editing process, Eric. Do you edit all the photos from every wedding by yourself? How do you maintain the editing timeline during a busy wedding shooting schedule and travel? And this was actually a big reason why you decided to shoot film instead of digital, because you're tired of spending all your time behind the computer.
Yeah, there's simply no way that I could shoot 25, 30 weddings a year digitally and then come home and edit all that stuff myself. And I really want to be able to take every image from start to finish as me, because I'm the only one who was there when I shot that photo, and I'm the only one who knows exactly how I want it to look. So I do all of my editing, and that's a luxury that I really enjoy. Amy does my retouching. God bless her.
Not really, though, to be fully transparent. I flag Eric's images for retouching and export them. We actually use retouchup.com. Is that the name of it? And we have one preferred touch-up artist that we have worked with for years now, who we pay a premium to only use her for every single job. And we've been able to hone in our look with her. So that's what we use for like blemishes, under eye stuff.
Yeah, only retouching, but I'm doing all of those sort of Lightroom edits and white balance and contrast and exposure.
So you guys, these little tidbits of information, you're not going to find Googling. This is the stuff that you have to try out kind of on your own, waste money, waste time. These are the things when you're starting out as an entrepreneur that you're like, I would pay a lot of money not to have to learn this lesson again, right?
Yeah.
This is the value of taking a course with Eric and Amy. Not only do you get this incredible 750 pages of content, but you also get access to this Facebook group where they're sharing all of this information. And like I said, you can't YouTube this, you can't Google this. This isn't something that you're going to find on Instagram. So if you're on the fence, I can't encourage you guys enough. Take the leap, take the course, try it out. You won't be disappointed. So Eric and Amy, we're going to get to one last question. And then, Christina asks, do you always have a second shooter with you, or is there ever a situation where you shoot a wedding solo?
Would never shoot a wedding by myself. I shoot way too much film to be able to handle all that film loading by myself. So I always have with me someone who's considered a photographer assistant, film loader. Yeah. And they're not considered a second shooter unless the couple hires an additional second shooter. So a second shooter would be a third person. Yeah. My person is there mainly to load film and shoot when I need them to. As I mentioned, they're full-time film wedding photographers who know what they're doing, and I can count on them to. I
feel like there was a time, maybe like a couple years ago, where Eric was at this price point in like a position in the market where a lot of his clients were saying, well, I don't want to have to pay extra for a second photographer. A lot of people are offering a second photographer. I think that bride magazines are telling me I need one. And Eric really doesn't very often work with second photographers if it's just a standard 1 day, like 8-hour wedding. It's just a photographer assistant.
Yeah.
And so he would go, oh, I hear you. I would love to put those concerns at ease. Why don't you check out these 3 full galleries of weddings? They're 8-hour weddings, just like yours, all done with just me and a film loader. So one thing that he would explain, because a lot of times, you get pushback on not having a second photographer, or at least we used to. I don't think we do so much anymore, but he would say, that's our cat Penny. We're talking about photo stuff, yeah. But Eric would say, you're investing in me because you like my work, and I want to be the one that's creating every single image for you. So let's just work together on the timeline to make it possible for you to not have to have a second photographer, and instead maybe invest that money in an additional hour of me shooting, you know?
And 99% of the time that works out great.
And sometimes totally they need a second shooter. Of course.
There are exceptions to the rule. Yeah. But the majority of the time that's not the case. And I really feel like I can get it done with my assistant and myself.
Awesome. Well, we're going to end on one last question, but before we do, everyone, if you have any questions about the course, payment plans, you're having trouble checking out, feel free to keep asking questions in the chat. Our moderators are going to stay on a few minutes after the webinar ends. You still can get access to that Lightroom editing video using the promo code Wedding Photography. And you're also more than welcome to email us at info@ifimade.com or check out the little chat bubble at the bottom of the If I Made site. We'll get back to you as soon as possible with any questions that you guys may have. Eric and Amy, before we leave though, what's your favorite part of the course?
Oh my.
I know this is hard.
That's a hard one, man.
Amy?
Sure, I'll take it. My favorite has to do with branding. I think that so often photographers can get caught up, like I was just saying, where you are so emotionally invested that you lose your identity and your sense of self without your business. So we talk a lot about that in the course and have worksheets and ways and strategies and techniques to apply so that you can create a brand that is unique to you, that stands out. We even have some stories in the course about photographers who've applied it and kind of some almost like case studies, I guess, so to speak, of why it's worked for them. And they're very different stories. Not every photographer is the same, and being a cookie cutter replica of what's already out there is not going to make you stand out in the marketplace. So that's my favorite part of the course, is showing you how to be yourself and utilize that to your benefit so that you can stand out and get noticed, because that's definitely, I mean, like 2/3 of the battle when you're trying to break into any new market or just getting started. You can take the best image possible, but if no one's seeing it, you're not going to book jobs.
Yeah.
Do I get to talk about my favorite part?
I'll allow it. Yeah.
If we have time. My favorite part is something we actually mentioned earlier, which is that you get to see the behind the scenes videos where I'm talking through exactly what I'm doing, what film and camera I'm shooting, how I'm metering, what I'm looking at for lighting, seeing all the direction that I'm giving people, seeing all of that, and then being able to view the gallery. I recommend at the same time being able to click into the images that were created at that very moment and see how it translates from a BTS to an actual image shot on film, and you get to know everything that went into that image. So it really leaves very little to the imagination and little for you to have to piece together yourself, which is just something that I remember doing when I started out with looking at photographers' images and going, how do I do that? How do I bring it all together to create that? And I'm really proud of the fact that I think are able to do that for you.
Well, we're also going to put up a downloadable link where you get access to Eric. What's in Eric's gear kit? What's his cameras? What he uses on when he's shooting weddings, editorials. So everyone, thanks again for joining us, Eric and Amy. This was awesome. Thank you for sharing all your knowledge. We will be sending out a replay link later of this class so you guys can catch up if you had to hop off for any reason. And if you have any questions at all, please feel free to direct message us on Instagram at ifimade or email us at info@ifimade.com. Thanks again, Eric and Amy.
Bye.
Thank you, guys.